Hey everyone, welcome in, and this is your 1 to 100 Bone Spirit Guide for Season 5 Necromancer. I've been practicing this on Season 4, leveling from about 1 to 50 or so, and also theory crafting over the past couple days for you guys to have a more interesting Necromancer leveling experience. Right now, I think most people are recommending that you go Blood Surge, but since Bone Spirit is going to be probably the strongest Necromancer build of Season 5, I wanted to give you something that was a bone leveling build that goes into Bone Spirit and slowly sort of merges you towards that endgame Bone Spirit build and helps you understand it better. So I'm going to level with this. I think it's very, very fast. It might be slightly slower than Blood Surge. I'll concede that, but I think I can make it faster. Anyway, let's go right into it. Okay, here we go. So I've got the planner down in the description below if you want to follow along. I've also got it on my Discord. And let's go over it. So first of all, I've already got all 58 points, all 58 skill points here in the skill tree for you. And so I'm going to explain sort of how I take the points, or sort of how I think about the points. There's a couple of new ways of thinking that I want to introduce with you along the way. So let's talk about it. We're going to talk about all the items and things to look out for, what's going to do a lot of damage for you, what to do if you're stuck, that sort of thing. Let's get into it. So first of all, we're going to take Bone Splinters. Bone Splinters is going to be our generator. We're going to need this for a little while until we start picking up some resource aspects. So 2 points here, real easy. And then we're going to come down to Bone Spear, immediately take 5 points into Bone Spear and go to Supernatural Bone Spear to pick up the vulnerable that it causes. This is a really great early level 1 source of vulnerable. And then we're gonna go Corpse Explosion to Blighted Corpse Explosion immediately. And let me explain this. You might go, wait. Corpse Explosion. We're not doing a shadow build, and that's correct. We're not doing a shadow build. We're actually gonna delete this later, and we're gonna take Bone Prison later. But at level 1, you don't have any other top-end damage. You have no legendaries, you have access to no aspects, no tempers, no masterworking, no nothing. Right? And so some of the best damage you can get is damage that doesn't cost you any essence and is essentially free damage that's just sitting on the ground. So we take this first. And so how combat, let's say levels 1 to 25, kind of looks like is you're going to pop a couple of Bone Spears. You can usually throw 3 of them before running out of essence immediately. And you're gonna kill some things. You're gonna get some corpses from that. Your skeletons are also gonna help you get some corpses, and then you're gonna kill everything with Corpse Explosion. Now, you're gonna do this in a Helltide, and particularly if you're doing an event in a Helltide, as you're running around the map, you're doing the Hellspires. Particularly the Hellspires are great for Corpse Explosion. Corpse Explosion is actually your main damage right now, and Bone Spear is only really peppered in to kill elites, right? So you don't have any multipliers for Bone Spear at this point. And so Corpse Explosion really just goes hard, like levels 1 to 15. It's really, really excellent. Okay, next, we need to solve that essence problem so we can throw more Bone Spears. We're going to go Grim Harvest, 3 out of 3 Grim Harvest, and grab 6 essence per corpse that we're blowing up here. And we're going to be blowing up a lot of corpses, so we're going to be able to refill our essence really, really quickly. Next, we're going 3 out of 3 Hewed Flesh. Of course, if you're blowing up corpses, you need more corpses. With Bone Spear's lucky hit chance, and with the lucky hit chance from Blighted Corpse Explosion doing 12 ticks every time you cast it to enemies on the ground, we're going to get a ton of corpses. And so we're going to be able to have sort of this regeneration engine that we can run around the Helltide with and do a lot of damage. All right. Next, we're going to work our way down here to Corpse Tendrils. Corpse Tendrils is super great for concentrating our damage, right? So typically, you'll if you have a number of enemies who are kind of spread out in a circle, you Corpse Tendrils them together, you suck them all up, and you do the Wombo combo, and you pop a couple Bone Spears on them, and they'll just all instantly die. If you don't have any essence, you can pop Corpse Explosion on them, and they'll all die in half a second. Super strong. And if you get Plagued Corpse Tendrils, this is how you're going to make everything vulnerable. It's as you're leveling. Really excellent. Next, we're going to pay attention to our bone passives. We're going to go 1 point into Restoration, 1 point into Compound Fracture, 3 points into Avulsion. Avulsion is a really great source for top-line damage. And so, as you can see here, it's 15x critical strike damage to vulnerable enemies. And we just made enemies vulnerable, and we just made an enemy vulnerable. So, now we're really cooking a little bit. We still don't have a lot of crit, but we're going to solve that next. We're going to grab Bone Storm, the ultimate, and we're going to grab Prime Bone Storm and Supreme Bone Storm for that extra crit. And then we're going to go 3 out of 3 Inspiring Leader, and then we're going to pick up Ossified Essence as our key passive. All right, with that, we have, a little bit of crit. We have a lot of top-line damage from Ossified Essence. Where do we go next? So at this point, we're going to go back and we're going to start filling up the rest of the tree. Where are we going to go next? Well, where we go next kind of depends on the loot that is dropping for you at this point. So one option is if you don't have any really good legendary aspects, and I'm going to talk about the aspects here in a second. You can go all the way up here to Unliving Energy and Imperfectly Balanced, and you can just make Bone Spear cost more so that you can dump your Essence Orb faster. So this is just making the raw top line for Bone Spear a little bit more damaging right now. Okay, let's say you have Shattered Spirits, you have Torment ready to go. If you have Shattered Spirits and Torment ready to go, then you can actually go ahead and go straight to Bone Spirit. At this point in time, Bone Spirit is not really a damaging skill. You can treat... It does do damage, don't get me wrong. It does a ton of damage. In fact, it might even do more damage than Bone Spirit at this point, sometimes because of the way it crits and crit overpowers work. However, you're not going to use it that way. At this point, what you're going to do, whenever you want to go and cast Bone Spirit, you're going to go up and run up to the face of an enemy, probably a big, bulky elite, and you're going to just face cast it at them. Why you're going to do this is because of the way Shattered Spirit works. Shattered Spirit shoots out a whole bunch of bone splinters in all directions, and each one of them generates 6 essence for you. So what you want is you want all of those splinters, you want most of them to hit enemies as much as possible, and the best way to do that is to just face cast it into enemies. So when you do that and you grab Dreadful Bone Spirit here, you're going to grow your essence by casting Bone Spirit at any sort of point, right? So you cast Bone Spirit a full orb, it's gonna bring your orb back up. You cast Bone Spirit when you have almost no essence left, it's gonna bring your orb even higher than it started. It's a little bit counterintuitive, but you're almost using it as essence generation and not for damage, at least at first, right? We're gonna change that as we level up. Okay, so now where are we going? So next, it seems weird because this is sort of like the minion passive area of the tree, but this is actually where we go next because this is going to give us crit. And everything about Bone Spirit as we're leveling up is about getting more and more and more and more crit because we want to get to 100% crit so we can drop Bone Spear altogether, right? So this is actually another 12% crit for us. And on top of that, our minions are going to crit. So we should talk about our minions here. So at level 1, the minions, the regular skeletons, they're actually really bad. They're going to die really fast. So the very first thing you should do is make sure you go in here. You're going to have the skeletal skirmishers here. Make sure you go in here and you put in the critically strike node here for your first 8 levels, just so they can like be effective. Now those first 8 levels, they're gonna last like 8 minutes. You're gonna be 8 minutes in to get the first 8 levels, or even faster. So when you get level 8, you're gonna take defenders, and you're gonna take skeletal defenders take 99% reduced damage. The whole reason you do this is because at level 8, your minions are just ridiculously not tanky. They are paper thin. Now this changes as you level up and you get some DR and other things like that. But you really don't want to waste those corpses on the ground on your minions. You kind of want the minions doing a little bit of damage, killing a little thing here, killing a little thing there, and letting Corpse Explosion really do the majority of the damage for you. Okay, level 15 is where the rocket really takes off, right? This is where you're going to be able to pick up Shadow. You're going to take Shadow, and Shadow Mages fire an additional Shadow Bolt every 3 attacks. And you're going to wait until your Cold Mages unlock. I can't remember what level they unlock off the top of my head, but when they do unlock, you're going to immediately go to Cold Mages, and you're going to go to each time your Cold Mages damage enemies with their primary attack, you gain 3 Essence. This is going to give you a ton of Essence that you can then dump into Bone Spirit or Bone Spear. All right, finally, at level 25, when we unlock our Golem, we're just not going to worry about the Golem with this leveling setup. And you start with Bone. Just go ahead and sacrifice it. Get the 15% attack speed. When you get Blood, sacrifice that for the maximum life. And then finally, when you get to Iron, sacrifice that for the critical strike damage. The 35x critical strike damage, again, we're going for 100% crit, is super, super strong. Super strong. All right. Finally, when you unlock Skeletal Reapers, you're going to go to the 15% chance to carve off a corpse. This is really, really strong. And in fact, eventually you're going to be using Necrotic Carapace when you get to like level 100. We'll talk about that here in just a second. Okay, so at this point, you kind of have your base set up, and you're working your way to level 35. At level 35, you're going to be able to go to the Capstone Dungeon and go to World Tier 3. This build is insanely strong. You can do the Capstone at level 35. You might have to go a little bit slow depending on how much damage you have available, how many damaging aspects you have available, that sort of thing, how many tempers you've done, that sort of thing. But you can absolutely demolish the bosses. Okay, so let's talk about what happens when you go to World Tier 3. You land in World Tier 3, and World Tier 3 is a pretty scary place. The enemies are level 55, you're level 35. So there's 2 things that are going to happen here. So first of all, you'll want to go to the Reputation Vendor. Now, Season 4 had a Reputation Vendor called the Iron Wolves, and as you earned Reputation in the Hell Tides, you could unlock some random loot. You would get legendaries, and you'd get a unique here and there, and eventually at the end of the track, you got a Resplendent Spark. So we're going to abuse this a little bit, and by the time you get to World Tier 3, you should have that first unique unlocked. And so we're going to go ahead and redeem all of those things, and you might have to progress the seasonal quests to get this, by the way. So you might have to spend some time talking to NPCs and unskippable cutscenes and that sort of thing, and then eventually you're going to get that first unique. Why you're going to do this, why this is really important, is that uniques have been massively buffed. Now, don't pay too much attention to this. MAXROLL's backend hasn't been quite updated yet to what is going to be on live. But in the patch notes, we've seen that the new uniques are extremely powerful. So much so that they're going to be more powerful until you can get sort of the end-game best-in-slot versions of these rings, right? Like, you're not going to get a ring at level 35 that has 90 intelligence, 6 crit, 9 attack speed, and has the perfect Bone Spirit and Macabre tempers on it with, 3 greater affixes. It's not happening, right? If you do get that, let me know in the comments. So getting a unique is a way to sort of like burst your power up really, really fast. And because you get it from this reputation grind, you can sort of ignore the normal rules for just trying to get it luckily from a drop. Okay, so what we're really looking for here is Lidless Wall, Blood Moon Breaches, and I don't think you're going to be able to get this from the reputation grind. I think it's only going to come from the Infernal Hordes, but Path of Trag'Oul, right? If you get Path of Trag'Oul really easily, let me know in the comments. That's going to be insane. So what's really great about the new Lidless Wall is it has +1 or 2 to bone skills. It also is just has increased duration of Bone Storm on it. So one of the things you're going to want to have this season as you level is Shielding Storm. Let's talk about Shielding Storm for a second. Shielding Storm is Necromancer's most powerful survivability tool that they have in their kit. And even last season, Season 4, it was very, very strong. But it was bugged. and it was going off of your base life, which I believe is like 7,000 something life, instead of your maximum life. So they fixed it. It now goes off of your maximum life. And that is going to make that barrier ridiculously strong. Like super, 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 super strong. And eventually, once you're level 100 and you have all best in slot gear and everything, and you have the like end game version of Bone Spirit, you might get rid of Shielding Storm. You might also not. You might really need the DR if you're in hardcore, for example. You might need Shielding Storm really hard, or maybe you just like playing a little bit more tanky. Shielding Storm is going to be really, really good, particularly if you stack maximum life percent, and you get your Bone Storm going up 100% of the time. Lidless Wall is going to help you achieve that. The other thing that's going to help you achieve that is 3 out of 3 Rapid Ossification. 3 out of 3 Rapid Ossification is going to allow you to dump your Essence Orb with Bone Spirit, which, by the way, in this build, we stack maximum Essence as much as possible. So we're going to dump that Essence Orb as much as possible. And then every time we dump 100 Essence, we get 1.5 seconds of cooldown off of Bone Storm. It's very easy at level 100 to get 275 plus Essence with this build. So let's call that an even 300. That is 4.5 seconds every time you cast Bone Spirit. And you're going to be casting Bone Spirit all the time. So 4.5 seconds, 4.5 seconds, 4.5 seconds, 4.5 seconds. And then if Bone Storm is lasting, 14, 15 seconds, plus some cooldown reduction, you've got yourself 100% uptime on Bone Storm. It's going to be really sick. And you're going to be combining that with Shielding Storm for all of the survivability in the universe. It's going to be wild. But if you wanted some more survivability, and I typically do while I'm leveling, you really want to pick up Hardened Bones. Hardened Bones is 25% top line DR. It's super, super, super. This is the Porsche of DR. This is the McLaren, right? Like you have some insane amounts of survivability in just these 2 items. All right, so let's talk about damage. So being able to do damage is going to become important as you hit World Tier 3. Namely I'm forgetting the name. At the end of, when you fill up your threat meter in Helltide, at the end of your threat meter, there's a special boss that spawns that drops the profane mind cages that you want. I believe he's called the Hell Bringer or something. I forget his name off the top of my head. You killing that guy is really, really hard in World Tier 3. He has more health than any of the bosses that you faced at that point. So in order to be able to kill him, you need a lot of top line damage. So you're going to need things like Serration here. This is going to make Ossified Essence do 40x more damage. You're going to want Grasping Veins on a necklace in order to do some more guaranteed crits. Again, crit strike chance, super, super important with Corpse Tendrils. You're going to want to try, if you have Trag'Oul, you can grab Imprisoned Spirit's Skull Splitter, and this is going to do 70% more damage again when you hit an enemy within a bone prison. Which, oh, by the way, if you do get Trag'Oul, if you grab this, that is an immediate signal. Like a light switch should flip on you in your head, and you should go, hey, guess what? I'm level 50. I'm in World Tier 3. I got Trag'Oul. Let's unspec from Corpse Explosion here, and let's spec into Bone Prison. Now, you're probably going to end up doing this anyway around level 50, level 60, because Corpse Explosion's damage is going to start falling off as your top line damage for Bone Spirit and Bone Spirit start ramping up, especially as you start unlocking those Paragon boards. We're going to get into the Paragon boards here in a minute. But just keep this in mind that this Corpse Explosion doesn't live on your bar forever, right? This is really just to kind of propel you through World Tier 1, 2, 3, early 3, and get you to a point where you can start farming things. Okay, so you're in World Tier 3. You're farming things. You're level 35. Personally, for me, at level 35, I still go do Helltide, and let me tell you why. So you can kill the bosses in World Tier 3, you can kill Greg, you can kill Zir, you can kill, what's his name? The tentacle guy. I'm forgetting his name. You can go and you can kill the bosses, right? These bosses have fairly high drop rates for any unique item, and these unique items more than likely are going to be far more powerful than any equipment that you have on at that moment, unless you've been doing a lot of tempering and you've gotten really lucky with your tempering and you've gotten really lucky with your rolls, right? So what I would do level 35 to 50 is I would farm Helltide so that you can get more boss materials, and then go farm the bosses. Go farm the boss ladder, get some free uniques from those bosses. You might only get 1 or 2 bosses in, but that might be enough to really, unlock you a lidless wall or a blood moon breaches or something that really propels you forward. And remember, Season 5, the uniques are a lot stronger than Season 4. So if you think, hey, uniques aren't that good, like, you kind of have to like shift your thinking just a little bit. But again, also to keep in mind, uniques typically aren't best in slot. More than likely, your legendaries are going to be best in slot, except for, I don't know, the Shaco. Shaco's probably going to be best in slot for everybody. And, every once in a while, you might need to equip something like Dragul for super end game, or something like lidless or something like that. That is more of a build enabler. Anyway, you're going to do that until level 50. You're going to do Helltide and you're going to do the boss ladder until level 50. And then at level 50, you're going to start going and blitzing through the Nightmare Dungeons. Now, you actually can do Nightmare Dungeons earlier if you want to skip over the bosses, right? If you're not interested in the bosses and you want to grab those uniques later, that's totally fine. You can actually go straight into Nightmare Dungeons at World Tier 3. And that might even be a little bit faster, but I think that those mobs are actually going to be just a little bit scary, particularly for Necromancer, because we're not going to have a lot of movement speed. So one of the things that I'm also doing in Helltide, as I'm going through Helltide and World Tier 3, is I'm really hunting for this movement speed equipment. Movement speed on Amulet, movement speed on boots. If I get movement speed, or I get a movement speed aspect, like for example, the new aspect that is Creeping Mist. So Creeping Mist is, let me see if I can find it here. Creeping Mist. They demoed this on the campfire. Your evade in Blood Mist travels twice as far, and it makes you move really, really fast, right? If you combine that with evade charges, maximum evade charges as your implicit on boots, you're gonna go some super mega fast. So this might be worth throwing on boots if you do not have Tragul, for example. If you get Creeping Mist, it's gonna let you move very quickly. So a decision I might make, like in my decision tree, let's say I'm level 35 and I just hit World Tier 3, and from levels 1 to 35, I either found Creeping Mist, or I got it from the Season Journey, or got it from somewhere, and it's on my boots. That might actually trigger me to go straight to Nightmare Dungeons and kind of skip staying in Helltide, because you're going to get more XP from Nightmare Dungeons. First of all, Nightmare Dungeons just give more XP to begin with, but also you can get more base XP now, up to 30 levels higher than you. So particularly if you're playing softcore, ideally you want to be playing in a Nightmare Dungeon where the mobs level is 30 levels above your level. Although the way it might work out is it might be 28, 29, 30, 31 kind of range, because you don't always get to pick the best keys for your Nightmare Dungeons, right? So if it's not perfectly 30 levels, don't freak out. Take the 28 one, just go fast so you can level up as fast as possible, right? But of course, I wish you super fast 30 S tier Nightmare Dungeons the whole way, So anyway, let's talk about the Paragon boards now. So at level 50, you're going to unlock your Paragon boards. And we're going to go up through here. Now this, again, is in the description below, and you'll be able to fill this out. We're going to go Amplify here. This is great for applying your curse. Now again, Blood Moon Breaches can apply that curse. Particularly Reapers are going to be pretty critical for applying that curse for you. So this is why this is one of the reasons Blood Moon Breaches becomes important. But if we jump back to the skill tree, hello. If we jump back to the skill tree, we'll see one of the things that we can start doing as we start leveling. Like, let's say our Bone Spirit, we have 100% crit, and we're very comfortable with it. We can actually depower our Bone Spirit a little bit. And when we depower our Bone Spirit, then we can go and we can grab and decrep. And then, you know, maybe at this point, maybe we're taking Bone Spear off our bar at this point because we have 100% crit. So we go and we remove Bone Spear here, and we move not Iron Maiden. We move Decrep here, and over here we have, you know, this is like maybe a level 70, 85 version, and then over here we have Bone Prison, right? So as you're leveling, in other words, as you're leveling, the particular skills that you're invested in are going to change, and you got to be a little bit flexible with it. It's not going to be perfect. You don't know exactly what items you're going to get as you're leveling. So anyway, that's why we pick up Amplify. Also worth noting, if you go at level 35, if you go into Nightmare Dungeons immediately, you can't level any of the glyphs that you have, and in fact, glyphs aren't going to start dropping for you until level 50 anyway. So just keep that in mind, that going to Nightmare Dungeons early is an XP move. It has nothing to do with wanting to do glyphs early. Those first few Nightmare Dungeon levels anyway, like levels 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, they don't really give you very much glyph XP anyway, so I wouldn't be worried about like losing glyph XP by doing lower Nightmare Dungeon levels. It's not a big deal. So anyway, we go, we do Amplify, which of course, you know, you don't have the glyph yet, so we're just grabbing sort of like these bonuses to damage, we're grabbing some resists, we're grabbing some max life. It's super, super important stuff. Okay. Now this is where things get a little crazy. So when we come up here to Bone Graft, this is where you're going to start running out of points, and I just put a random point somewhere. It's fine. This is where you're going to start running out of points, and the first thing I want you to do is actually come over here and grab these res nodes. These resistance nodes are really critical to grab early on, because your resistances, again, go down in World Tier 3. And you're going to have pretty bad resistances at this point, no matter what you do. You're not going to have, you know, the flawless diamonds or whatever. So go grab these resistances first. And then, instead of going this way, because you're not going to have the glyph yet, right? Instead of going that way, head all the way up and over here to Bone Graft. And Bone Graft is going to allow you to bring your top line damage up a good amount. After that, I'm going to go over here, grab a little bit of bone damage, and then this node, again, more max life, right? So you'll see a trend here. Now, max life is a really, since season 4, max life has been super, super important, and it's always kind of been important, you know, even back in season 1. But now it's doubly, triply important, because your max life is also going to be a place for you to put more barrier in with Shielding Storm, right? So think about that as you're leveling up your Paragon tree. You go, oh, max life. Okay, max life with Shielding Storm with Bone Storm lasting forever with Lidless Wall. Launching Bone Spirit, which is dunking 300 essence down into Rapid Ossification, which is giving me 4.5 seconds off of Bone Storm. Okay, now we're getting somewhere, right? We're starting to like pull that cooldown all the way down as much as possible. Okay, so where do we go from here? My favorite board in the universe, Flesh Eater. And you might say, okay, wait a second. Flesh Eater, I know Flesh Eater. Flesh Eater's about consuming corpses so that we can get a 40x multiplier. How are we consuming corpses in this build? Well, it's really easy. We're raising skeletons. We're gonna need to raise these skeletons to either grab a skeletal priest or to refill our reapers and our cold mages, because those guys are gonna be dying. Okay, this is not a minion build by any sense of the imagination, so these guys are going to be dying. We're going to need to eat those corpses. So we're gonna consume corpses. We're going to get 40x from Flesh Eater. It's a super good damage, top line damage node. Okay, once we grab Flesh Eater, we're going into Bloodbath. Bloodbath has overpower damage. Now, this is something you're going to start seeing as you get more towards level 100. But one of the swaps that you can have here for the necklace is Banished Lord's Talisman. Now, I don't include it in the 1 to 100 leveling because chances are very, very low you're actually going to run into Banished Lord's Talisman. But if you do run into Banished Lord's Talisman and you have a ton of primary resources, this is like more like, hey, I'm like level 90 and I've gotten super lucky with my loot along the way, then you might want to throw Banished Lord's Talisman on, particularly if you have more than 275 primary resource. That's going to make your next core skill overpower, which means that Bone Spirit's going to overpower every single time. So now Bone Spirit's going to start benefiting from the multipliers that Overpower has and Crit has at the same time. That's why this, by the way, this is fundamentally why Bone Spirit is going to be the best Necromancer build in Season 5. This is actually something that we discovered back in Season 2 was, hey, you know, if you throw on Banished Lord's Talisman and you get Overpower and you get crits and you get crit damage and you stack all that stuff together and you put it in a blender, then, you know, you can go over to Bloodbath and you can grab 35x to Overpower damage. And, you know, you can go and you can sacrifice your mages to get more Overpower damage here. You can sacrifice Bone. You can get more Overpower damage here. If you do have this at this point, you're 3 Paragon boards in, and you have this, this 35x is, it's pretty ridiculous with Banished Lord's Talisman. Now you're starting to really pump damage. You're gonna one-shot probably everything. It's gonna be really ridiculous. Okay, you're gonna head down here. You're gonna go to Cult Leader. At this point, now we're really trying to make our minions survive, because you might have some problems with them surviving. So you'll note here we're picking up the DR nodes, right? These DR nodes for our minions is going to be super important. There's going to be a point, I'm guessing it's going to be maybe like level 70, 80, like right when you hit World Tier 4 and you're starting to really pump your Nightmare Dungeons up, your minions are probably just going to start dying like paper. This is my theory. Again, it's really hard to predict with how things change from season to season. But if you, before you get to this board, you're going to be like here, and your minions are just going to be melting, right? This is another reason why by that time you're going to be taking Corpse Explosion off your bar, because you're just not going to have the like APM to be Corpse Explosioning and raising your skeletons all at the same time. So anyway, you're going to feel this by the time you get here. You're going to really want that damage reduction for your minions. You're going to get some summon damage. You're going to come down through here. And then finally, this is really this last piece here. This is about grabbing as much max life as you can. It's not really about the blood orbs, although I do want to show you a trick real quick. So going back to the boss ladder. So let's say you don't go to Nightmare Dungeons, right? You don't have the movement speed, right? You don't pick up, for some reason you don't get lucky, and you're not able to pick up any sort of movement aspects, and you're just kind of stuck in Helltide because you don't have any good movement speed. If that's the case, then one other thing that can drop from the boss ladder really, really easily is Blood Artisan's Cuirass. Now, Blood Artisan's Cuirass kind of looks like garbage, to be frank with you. And in Season 4, it really is. But in Season 5, it got pretty buffed, and one of the things they buffed is the number of blood orbs it takes to make a free bone spirit. So if you get lucky, you can actually get this all the way down to 3 blood orbs per bone spirit. And if you get something sort of in that neighborhood as you're doing the boss ladder really, really early on, then one thing that you can do is you can go over here and you can move Plague Corpse Tendrils to Blighted Corpse Tendrils. And this really pumps out some blood orbs for you. Now it's not, you know, it's not super crazy. It's not like, it's not the way that, you know, Bloodlance does it or anything like that. But it's enough such that you're gonna get some free bone spirits out of Blood Artisan's Cuirass. And that might be something that you can play around with for a few levels. It's fun if nothing else. I'm not saying it's particularly good, but you know, if you have nothing else on this slot, particularly on this chest slot, like let's say you didn't get hardened bones, you didn't get all this kind of stuff, then you may just want to throw on the Blood Artisan's Cuirass, swap this this Corpse Tendrils over to Blighted Corpse Tendrils for a few levels until you do get this stuff that's really, really good. All right, everyone, that's going to be it for this one. I really wish you the best in your season start. The season starts tomorrow at 10 a.m. Pacific time. Tomorrow, today being Monday, August the 5th, tomorrow being Tuesday, August the 6th at 10 a.m. Pacific time. I hope you have an excellent 1 to 100 and that you can do it super fast and have the most fun that you've ever had in Diablo 4. You guys have a great one, and I'll see you next one. Peace!